Well, hello there, and welcome to Module 2, Video 2. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, we've got a lot to cover in Module 2. And I want to make sure I stay on track and stick with our agreement on time. I want to respect your time. But we're still on aligned eating, and of course, as you might have imagined, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to aligned eating. So here we are, we're continuing our journey, 8 weeks to a stronger, leaner, happier, and healthier you. So Module 2, Aligned Eating. Real quick, let's do a review from video number 1. I know you watched it. I know you downloaded your notes. I know that you're living it already, but just in case, let's do a quick review. We talked about what the 5-minute mindset was and how to be mindful of our eating for the first 5 minutes of when we sit down with a meal. We talked about how to control your cravings with questions on a scale of 1 to 10. If it's a 1 through 8, it can wait. If it's a 9 or 10, let the questions begin. And then you ask yourself, is this really something that you want, or is it something that you think you're going to gain from having it? Just going to hit broad strokes right now because you've already seen these in the other videos. We talked about measuring your food and recalibrating monthly, how it's not something you've got to do every single day of your life, but you do it in periods of time, and you always circle back around and recalibrate, because we will get off with what we think half a cup of something looks like, or what we think 3 ounces is. So measuring. So we talked about if we're going to measure, the 3 must-have tools that you need in your kitchen. And I bet you ran out right after that video and made sure that you had these in your kitchen. And if you didn't, you went out and purchased them. Because I know you. You are here and you're committed. So food scale, measuring cups, and measuring spoons. Okay, so we've got those in our kitchen. We talked about how eating 5 to 6 times a day will keep your metabolism going. You might remember our little fiery furnace example. So we're trying to keep that metabolism sped up. And we talked about having set meal times that fit your life. Okay, there's not a formula that fits everybody when it comes to when you should eat. I think I told you in the last video that a lot of times I eat my last meal of the day about 9 to 9:30, just the way my schedule works. And there's that old rule that says, well, you can't eat after 6 o'clock. Well, that's not necessarily true, but you do have to have set times throughout the day that you know, so there's no question. And because when there's questions about when you're going to eat and what you're going to eat, then that's where wrong decision making can happen. So what we're doing is we're setting yourself up for success by having set meal times. All right. So video number 2. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the first 2 points, calories and protein, because there's so much to talk about with both of these. In the video that follows this one, we're going to get into carbohydrates and fats, and also share with us other things I told you about, which are going to be my meal plans, my grocery list, and why they're designed the way that they are, and best food choices that you can make in all of these areas. So, but today we're going to focus on calories and protein. How to know your specific numbers based on you, your age, your height, your weight, your gender, your activity level, and your goals. Those are all things that play into what your specific numbers are for you. Because I want you to remember something. This is where I get very touchy-feely. Okay? You are unique. You are, though. I'm just being a little silly here, but every single one of us is unique. Every snowflake is different, and that uniqueness has to be taken into consideration when you're talking about how many calories you take in. Your uniqueness has to be taken into consideration when we're talking about how much protein your body needs on a daily basis. So keep that in mind. You are not a cookie cutter copy, and that's not easy to say, but I just did it. And I share this with you because basically fad diets don't work. Fad diets don't work. You are not a cookie. You don't need to follow a cookie cutter program because you are unique. And that's something that's really important to remember. I shared with you, and I'll do a 30-second version really quick, about how when I found out I was kind of overweight and needed to lose about 30 pounds back when I was in my early 20s, I followed a cookie cutter fad diet. It was a book that had this diet that every single person that picked it up was supposed to follow. But every single person that picks up that book is different. And so it had me drop all this weight. I got into an unhealthy weight. And it was at that point that I decided, you know what? Fad diets aren't for me. They don't work because they don't take my uniqueness into the equation. Okay? And this is just a funny thing I found online. It says that maybe they work for a while. This is the fad diet transformation, right? You got your before shot. And then you've got your after shot. And it looks real good at first, but then you've got your after shot. Because what happens is fad diets are temporary fixes to things that we want to change permanently. All right, so let's keep on moving. Yeah, the old way. Here's a fish. I talked about this in the last video as well. You're going to hear me probably talk about it so much because this whole program is based on teaching you to fish, the new way, the permanent approach. Anybody can give you something to follow and say, here, follow this. Okay, but if you're not creating new habits, you're not creating new belief systems, you're not taking new actions that will lead you and align you towards your goals, then you're just getting the fish. Okay, so the new way of thinking, your new way of thinking, hopefully this becomes the new way of thinking for everybody on the planet, is to keep calm and learn to fish. So that's what we're going to do, the permanent way, learn to fish. Okay, so step one, we are going to talk about how to calculate your calories. All right, and of course, we've all talked about calories before. So what exactly is a calorie anyway? Well, I bet you've seen this before, but if you haven't, you'll get a kick out of it. Calories are the tiny creatures that live in your closet and sew your clothes a little bit tighter every single night. They look real cute and fuzzy, don't they? But of course, that's not what calories are. A calorie, you ready? I'm going to get my scientific voice on. A calorie is the energy it takes to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water 1 degree Celsius. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? What exactly does that mean anyway? And for you scientists out there, congratulations. But what does this really mean? Okay? Well, let's focus on the key word when it comes to calorie. A calorie is the energy it takes to raise. So let's focus on that word energy. And I want to introduce something to you that is kind of scientific, but it's something that has to be grasped and learned. And once you know this and it makes sense to you, and you might already know it, it really does change how you look at things calories-wise. Because you will hear marketers and advertising and people will say, never count calories again. And do you know why they say that? They tell you that because it sounds good. It sounds appealing. It sounds like there's not as much work involved. It does. It sounds good. So that's sexy. It sizzles. It sells. So the thing is, if you don't count calories, if you don't know what your goals are and how many you're taking in on a daily basis, or at least get a feel for that, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. If you don't, then you're going to be beating your head up against a wall, okay? And we're going to talk about our approach, the aligned fitness approach, okay? But here's the first law of thermodynamics, okay? Boy, there goes the tongue ties. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. Meaning, I can't go out and jog a marathon without getting the energy to move my body from somewhere, whether it be stored carbohydrates in my body, whether it be sugar that's in my system, whether it be body fat that I'm burning. But I have to take stored energy, and we're going to talk more about stored and kinetic and so forth. But I'm going to take that potential energy and I'm going to turn it into something moving. The bottom line is that you can't create or destroy energy. It's only converted from one form to another, back and forth. Okay, there's always balance is what I'm telling you. The two basic forms of energy are potential energy, your stored energy. Okay, mentioned that already. That might be body fat. That might be stored carbohydrates in your muscle tissue. And then the second kind is kinetic energy. It's what we think of movement. All right, two types of energy. Potential energy might be food, body fat, muscle, glycogen that's stored as carbohydrate. Glycogen is stored carbohydrates. You see, I'm trying to keep us on time so much, so I'm getting all tongue-tied. But glycogen is basically stored carbohydrates in your liver and in your muscle tissue that is stored ready energy, okay? So that's potential energy. It's ready to go. It's sitting there. It's waiting for you. Kinetic energy is that movement we talked about. It's, exercise, lifting weights, walking, jogging, climbing, anything involving movement. That's your kinetic energy. Kinetic means movement. Okay, so here's the deal, and here's why calories count. And I'm sorry if you wanted me to tell you that they didn't, but I'm being truthful with you here. This is the lifestyle approach. So when you have your calories coming in, okay, your calories coming in and your calories going out, your weight is maintained. Basically, energy in equals energy out, and nothing changes. Okay. weight loss happens, which I think a lot of people watching this program are after weight loss. And let me be more specific, not weight loss, but body fat loss, because your goal is not to lose muscle tissue. And we're going to talk about that when we get to protein. But body fat loss, you have to create a negative caloric balance, which simply means the amount of calories coming in is slightly less than the calories that are going out. Okay. Now, let's relate that back to the law of thermodynamics that we just learned. Okay. If I have calories going out, meaning my movement energy, let's say my movement energy requires 2,000 calories that day, but I only gave myself 1,500 calories of food, which is that potential energy, right? Well, I'm moving 500 calories more than I'm taking in. And if I can't create energy out of thin air, I have to get it from somewhere. So what I do is I convert body fat for that extra 500 calories of movement that day. Okay? So when we're at that negative balance, your body says, I need to get energy from somewhere. And that's how we end up burning body fat. Okay? Now the opposite is true as well. If the calories that you have expending that day, moving that day, are less than what you're taking in, then you're going to store that excess amount. And you know, we're going to talk about quality of food, but I do like to give this example because never count calories again sounds real sexy, has a lot of sizzle, right? And people say, well, just make good food choices. Okay, well, let me tell you something. Good food choices person. If you take in 2,000 calories of the purest protein known to man, the leanest chicken on the planet, and broccoli, but you eat 2,000 calories of chicken and broccoli that day, okay? But you only burn 1,500 calories. Well, then you're gonna that extra 500 that you took in, that extra 500 calories of the leanest chicken known to mankind and broccoli, you're gonna store it as body fat. You are. So yes, food choices are important, but knowing where your energy balance is important as well. And that simply means energy. Remember, energy equals calories. We have to know where our energy is. We have to know where our calories are. Okay? So calories do matter. Bam! Science says so. All right? You got it? Science. What we're talking about here is not sexy sizzle and, pump me up with hope and then send me out there to get temporary results. So we're talking about science, and you can't argue with science. So that's a point I wanted to drive home, is the calories matter because it's science. And it doesn't matter what it says on the cover of a magazine or what the next fad diet might be. It's always science. So are all calories the same? No, they're not. You can't eat 2,000 calories worth of gummy bears and expect the same type of result as if you were eating 2,000 calories of healthy food, balanced, lean proteins and carbohydrates and fats and things like that. So we're going to get into that when we get into the video that's based on food choices. So, but just realize that, okay, well, all right, if I count my calories, I can eat anything I want, right? I can wake up and have pancakes and lots of syrup in the morning, and I can have toaster strudel as a snack, and I can have pizza for lunch. No, that's not what I'm telling you. Now, are those things that you can never have again? No, that's not what we're talking about either. But the quality of food does matter. So while calories is an important part of the equation, that they have to be, they do matter, okay? Food choices matter as well. So we're not saying that calories are the same across the board. So, step one to calculating your calories, here we go, the real science of you, all right, is you're going to figure out your basal metabolic rate. Your basal metabolic rate is simply a way of saying the amount of calories that you burn by simply being alive each day. Okay, you're going to have this average amount of calories that you typically burn, and that is your basal metabolic rate. So how do you figure that out? Well, there's a formula, a scientific formula that we're going to use. And I'm going to throw women up there really quick and for my men, okay? So you can start to look at this. Now, you have access to these notes. You can write this out if you want to and come back around and figure out what your specific number is later. But basically, this is the formula. And as you can see in that formula, it's different for men and women, okay? So gender matters. As you can see, how much you weigh matters. That's in the formula, okay? So what you weigh is different from somebody else, okay? Also, you see that your height and your age are in there as well. So when we're calculating your calories for somebody just to come along and say, follow this 1,300 calorie diet. Okay, well, how do you know if you need that 1,300 calorie diet? You might need more than that. You might need slightly less than that. We'll talk about that 1,300 calorie threshold in a second. But the point is, this is based on you. It's your weight, your gender, your height, your age, your basal metabolic rate. So for this particular example, we're using a woman that is, I think, 145 pounds, like 5'3", yep, age 42. And we plug in all the numbers, and so we find out that her basal metabolic rate, meaning just how many calories does she burn to stay alive, or just being alive each day, is 1,371. Okay, right there. 1,371. But we're not done. Okay, step 2, multiply by your activity level factor. Okay, because activity is movement, and that's going to affect based on how much you move on a daily basis, the amount of extra movement you do each day. Okay, so activity level factor, you would use these numbers. 0.9 if you are very inactive and have crash dieted frequently during the past 2 years, meaning your metabolism is probably moving pretty slow. Okay, 1.2 if you are inactive. 1.3 if you are moderately active, you maybe exercise about 3 to 4 times a week. 1.5 if your activity level includes an active job and moderate exercise, meaning you have a pretty good regimen 4 to 5 times a week. 1.7 if you are very active job, you're on your feet all day, you move around a lot, and you exercise 5 to 6 times a week. And 1.9 if you are extremely active. This is a consistent exerciser for long periods of time, such as a distance runner. So if you're like training for a running program or a marathon, or this is just part of your regimen, okay? So you've probably got an idea of where you are on that chart right there, okay? And it doesn't have to be right on the money. You go, oh, I exercise 2 times a week, but sometimes 3, then you're probably at that 1.2 or 1.3, okay? You decide. But you're going to multiply your basal metabolic rate by your activity level, okay? So in our example here, it was 1371.49. We're going to say that this person is moderately active, 1.3 activity level. And that person, meaning that this woman is 42, 145 pounds, 5'3", that is moderately active, probably burns somewhere around 1,782 calories per day. Kilocalories just means calories, okay? So now we know that. Step 3 is to determine your energy needs. Okay? Do you want to lose weight? Okay? Because if you want to lose weight, you would want to create a safe caloric deficit of about 500 calories per day. Okay, safe caloric deficit, 500 calories per day. Sometimes the deficit's a little less, but 500 is kind of like that magic number, that threshold. Because what happens if you don't take in, if your caloric deficit is too great, and you probably already know this, but I'm driving it home for you. If your caloric deficit is too great, if you're supposed to be taking in 1,700 calories and you think, well, that's great, I'll just eat 700 calories a day and then I'll burn 1,000 calories a day. It doesn't work like that. Because there's a slide I wanted to put in here, and I just remembered I forgot to put it in there. But if your body thinks there's a food shortage, it's going to store food, okay? And you're going to end up losing muscle tissue instead, okay? See, body fat is energy rich. Got a lot of energy in body fat, okay? So if your body says, if you're not going to give me the calories, I'm going to hang on to this energy rich body fat, and here you can take the muscle tissue. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to lose the muscle tissue and store body fat. So you need to be at a safe caloric deficit. Okay, so in this particular example, 1782 minus 500 comes to 1282. This is where I want to talk to you about 1,300 calories. My personal feelings, and a lot of other people out there will tell you that 1,300 calories a day is probably the lowest you should go without consulting your doctor. Because anything less than 1,300 calories is called an extremely low calorie diet. Okay, so in this example, would we be at a 500 calorie deficit if we were at 1,300 calories a day? No, we'd be like 480 something, or we're 482 calorie deficit. So pretty dang close. But usually 1,300 calories is the lowest that that I personally, as a fitness professional that's been doing this for 17 years now, that's what I would recommend. Okay. Okay, what if your goal is to maintain weight? Well, if you're not trying to lose weight, okay, and this is a huge lifestyle point I'm getting ready to drive home. When you're trying to lose weight, you're doing the same things you're doing when you're trying to maintain weight. The only difference is where your calories are. So if you're trying to lose weight, you're following a set way of eating that you're going to continue doing for a lifetime. The only difference is, as you're trying to lose body fat, you're going to be at a slightly lower number. And when you're ready to maintain, nothing changes but that number. You just bring it up a little bit, okay? So you would try to consume the same amount of calories as you burn. Okay, so this is the part where you get very frustrated and you say, so I'm going to have to count calories for the rest of my life. That's what you're trying to tell me, right? And the answer is no. I want you to remember this little picture from the last video. You're going to learn. You're going to learn along the way. And as you're weighing things out and you're measuring things, and you're learning how many calories are in food items, and we're going to start that learning process a little bit today, a little bit in the next video. If somebody says there's, 90 calories and 3 ounces of chicken, there's only so many times you have to hear that, and only so many times that you have to measure out 3 ounces of chicken to know what it looks like, okay? And of course, we're always going to recalibrate that, but there's only so many times that you need to hear that and see that before you know, hey, I'm having 3 ounces of chicken. That's about 90 calories. Easy. I can piece it together. That banana over there, it's a medium banana is about 100 calories. How many times do you need to be told that until it just sinks in? You remember this example that I had on the board here was that, you're going to start off with small pieces. Just like you do when you're learning a language. You learn the alphabet first, and then you learn how to do small words together, and you learn how to build compound words and so forth, and before you know it, you can write a novel. And that's the idea here, is that we're learning. So keep that in mind. Don't overwhelm yourself thinking I'm going to have to count for the rest of my life and weigh everything for the rest of my life. No. So let's try a little experiment, okay? Here's a picture of a medium banana. I already mentioned it's got 100 calories to it. That's all I want you to remember for now. So once we've calculated our calories, which now you know how to do it, you've got the formula, you can figure it out for yourself, your own personal number. The next thing we want to look at is protein. Calculate your protein needs. Now, protein in your diet is necessary. Notice how I have the word needs, protein needs. It's not a suggestion. Your body has a need for protein. It's necessary to repair and to maintain your connective tissue, your muscles, your ligaments, your tendons, anything that is connective tissue in your body. It's necessary, okay? And your body can't store amino acids, proteins. We're going to get to that, which means every day you need this protein. Every day. It doesn't carry over. There's no rollover protein, okay? But let's just focus on the muscles for now. That's what I want to focus on when we're talking about protein. It's great that it helps repair ligaments and connective tissue and things like that, but let's focus on the muscles. Why? Muscle tissue. Muscles are where you burn the majority of your calories daily. So basically, muscles equals your metabolism, your fire on the inside, okay? 1 pound of muscle burns about 35 to 50 calories a day. So gaining just 3 pounds of lean muscle mass, you could increase your burn by 150 calories a day just by having some lean muscle mass. But also losing that 3 pounds because maybe you're not keeping enough protein in your diet, and so you're losing muscle tissue and you're storing body fat, okay? Then you're also going to slow your metabolism down by about 150 calories a day. And these are just nice round numbers that I chose. But the point is, having lean muscle mass will help you burn more calories. Having less lean muscle mass will have you slow your metabolism and burn fewer calories. Muscles, and also think about this, muscles are lean, strong, firm, and provide strength and power and endurance. Now, I'm not talking about being a big muscle head here. I'm talking about being lean and toned and fit and all the things that you want to look like when you see in the mirror, okay? I'm not talking about somebody that wants to put on, 50 pounds of muscle tissue here, all right? So follow me, muscle tissue. If you maintain your lean muscle by meeting your protein needs, you have a faster metabolism, a leaner and toner body, and more strength, more endurance, and more power. Okay? And if you lose lean muscle because you don't have enough protein in your diet, you will have a slower metabolism. you will burn fewer calories, you will store more fat, you're going to lose the firm stuff, your muscle tissue, you're going to pack on the jiggly stuff, and that's a technical term right there, folks. And you're going to be weaker and less energetic. So I don't know which one of those sounds better to you. Here's one more way to look at it. Why protein is important. Not enough protein leads to losing toned muscle. Losing toned muscle leads to slower metabolism. Slower metabolism leads to storing body fat. Okay, so you see it's a process. These things go together. Okay, enough protein in your diet means that you get to keep the toned muscle tissue, which means you get to keep the faster metabolism, and that means you get to burn more body fat. Okay, so I just want you to see this. I don't want to just say, hey, you need protein in your diet, and here's what you should eat. You got to understand these things and why it's important, because when you do that, you're adding evidence to your belief system, okay? And you're saying, here's why I need it, and here's, why I'm going to get it in. So, protein. What exactly is protein, okay? I want you to think of your body, your entire body, as this brick house, okay? This red brick house that you see there, okay? And that red brick house is made up of many different bricks and many different walls, right? But the entire body, let's say, is the brick house. A muscle might be just one of those walls in that brick house. And you can see that a wall is made up of many bricks. Well, basically, the building block for muscle, that one little brick, is called an amino acid. An amino acid is the building block for protein. So we've got your entire body. We say, all right, well, what about just that one particular muscle? And that one particular muscle is made up of many amino acids, okay? So let's say that in order to build your beautiful brick house, you require 10,000 bricks, okay? That means your protein needs. I'm just using round numbers and bricks as examples. But let's say that you need 10,000 bricks or this amount of protein in your diet, okay, to build your brick house. But only 5,000 bricks get delivered. Are you going to be able to build the entire house? I know these are two different houses, but this is all I could find, okay? But you can see this house is incomplete. It doesn't have all the bricks that it needs already laid here, because let's pretend that when they ordered in the bricks, they needed 10,000, but they only ordered 5,000. Are they going to be able to complete the house? No. So back to you, your bricks are protein in your diet. They're amino acids in your diet. Okay? If you don't deliver enough protein, you're going to lose muscle mass. I thought this was an interesting picture. But not enough protein equals loss of muscle. Okay? And let me go back here for a second. Let me see if I can do this. Here we go. Let's go back another one. So in our analogy, I hope you understand, you're the house. And let's say you need 60 grams of protein a day. All right, your body needs 60 grams of protein a day to maintain this beautiful house that you have here and to keep it built up. If you only get in 30, 40 grams of protein, your body needs protein from somewhere, so it's going to use your muscle tissue. You're going to lose that muscle tissue because you don't have enough protein in your diet, enough bricks in your diet, if you will, to help you maintain and build your beautiful home. So, you end up losing muscle tissue. So let's get back to it. So how much protein do you need? I was just using round numbers with bricks and things like that, but we're going to calculate how much you need protein-wise. Step 1, to calculate your protein needs, you need to first convert your weight into kilograms. To do so, simply divide your weight in pounds by 2.2. So let's use somebody that weighs 165 pounds, divided by 2.2. They weigh 75 kilograms, all right? Step 2. You're going to multiply by your activity level factor, another activity level factor, okay? If you are a recreational/fitness athlete, you're going to multiply by 1.3, okay? So that's, if you're basically, that's you if you are in maintenance mode, if you're just trying to exercise regularly and you are, pretty much I know it says recreational fitness athlete, recreational fitness person, okay? And you're just trying to maintain lean muscle tissue. Now, if you're trying to grow your muscles, if you actually do want to put on more muscle mass, maybe this is a bodybuilder or someone that wants to put on more muscle mass, if they're going to put on more muscle, their body requires more muscle. So they would multiply by something a little bit higher, a 1.6. And then endurance athletes, are burning through so much energy that they have a higher multiplier by 1.8 to 2.0. So you're gonna pick probably something around 1.3. Okay, 1.3. So our 165-pound person that weighs 75 kilograms is going to multiply by 1.3 and get 97.5 grams of protein. Okay. Now, if you think that sounds like a lot, it's really not, because if you get 20 to 25 grams per main meal, like let's say you get 25 grams of protein in your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's 75 grams right there. Have a couple healthy snacks that have 5 to 7 grams a piece in there, and you're pretty much meeting your number. Okay. So it's really not that much, especially when we get to the next video and I show you really how many carbohydrates and fats we have in our diet. Okay, protein, check. I got it, right? Okay, I got my number. I know how to calculate it. Let me go out there and let me eat some protein. But wait a minute, are all proteins the same? No, let's go back to the amino acids for a moment. Okay, I'm going to show you a chart. Memorize that. That's a joke. You don't have to memorize that, and you don't have to know what any of these mean. Okay, but what I wanted to show you is that there's 3 types of amino acids. There's essential, conditionally non-essential, and non-essential. You don't need to know what these are. Let's just talk food. Okay, let's define those a little bit more. Essential amino acids are the amino acids that your body does not produce, and therefore you must get them daily from food or supplementation. Okay, and I remember me saying just a little while ago, your body can't just store amino acids in the body and hang on to them and have rollover protein. So your protein requirements are daily requirements. Okay, let that sink in. Daily requirements. So every day your body needs these essential amino acids because your body does not produce them, but it needs them. Okay, it needs them but does not produce them. Where do you get them? Food and supplementation. Non-essential amino acids are the amino acids that play very important roles in your body, but your body produces them, and therefore you don't have to go get them from food. Your body produces them on a daily basis. Now, what's this conditionally non-essential? Well, conditionally non-essential are your body makes these, but it may produce a little less of these particular amino acids during times of stress or sickness, in which case during stress or sickness, you might want to focus on, maybe some type of supplementation that will help you fulfill those needs. But what we're going to focus on here is the essential aminos, because your body does not produce those, and you need them on a daily basis. Okay? There's 2 types of protein. There's complete protein sources and incomplete protein sources. Complete protein sources are going to be basically animal products. Okay, and I know that there are some people that are watching this that don't consume animal products, and that's okay. We're going to talk about how to get your protein in, even if you don't consume animal products. But on this list, you have like chicken and fish and yogurt and turkey and cottage cheese and beef and whey protein, which is a dairy-based protein. On the other side, you've got your grains and vegetables and fruits. They have a little bit of protein in them as well, but they're called incomplete protein sources. The reason why they're called incomplete and complete proteins have all the essential amino acids that you need to build that muscle tissue. Okay? They have all of those essential amino acids. The ones that you saw on the list, which you don't have to memorize. Just know that complete proteins have them all. So when you eat milk or eggs or beef or cheese or chicken, that protein that you're taking in has all the aminos that you need to build your muscle tissue. Okay? Incomplete proteins do not. They do not have all of the essential amino acids. Okay? Does that mean you're out of luck? No, not at all. And here, it just repeats what I said. These have all the essential amino acids, and these do not have all the essential amino acids. So what do you do with incomplete proteins to get a complete protein? You combine them. Okay? Because when you combine certain combinations of incomplete proteins, you might have nuts and seeds over here that are missing A, B, and C, but the vegetables that you're having have A, B, and C, but the vegetables don't have D, E, and F, and the nuts and seeds do. So when you eat them together you have all the essential amino acids that you need. Okay? Now that might be hard to follow, but let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. Rice and beans. Okay, when you mix legumes and grains together, it forms a complete protein. So rice and beans is a great way to complete your proteins. Now, all these things that I'm listing out here, by the way, and we're going to get into food quality and food choices in our next video, But just know that, like when I'm talking about rice and beans, I'm not talking about instant rice combined with beans from a can. Okay, we're not talking about that. We're talking about whole grains, slow cooked, prepared, healthy versions of all these things. Whole grain rice, whole grain bread, whole grain pasta, and we're gonna get into that in the next one. Just know that right now because you might be thinking that. So rice and beans, lentils and barley, whole grain bread with some natural peanut butter on it will complete your proteins. Having legumes and nuts on your salad together. Let's say you have a nice salad and you want to, let's say you don't have any complete proteins like chicken on there. You can add some beans to your salad and some nuts to your salad and complete those proteins, okay? Supplementation is another great way to do it. And you already know I have a video coming that's going to show you all about the supplementation. So that's it for today. One last thing is I put this guy on here. It's crazy, right? Because a lot of times people think when we're talking about lean muscle tissue that this is what we're talking about. They think, well, I don't need all that protein in my diet because, I don't want to look like that guy. I don't want to be bulky. And if I get too much protein in my diet, then I'm going to be bulky, right? No, that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is just a fitness lifestyle. Something that you live by, and protein is required on a daily basis. So, we're not talking about that dude, all right? Now, if you want to look like that guy and you want to put on that much muscle, guess what? You can go use the right formulas that we talked about. You saw where if somebody was a bodybuilder, how much protein they need in and so forth. So, you go back and do that. But I just wanted to squash the myth of everybody thinking that when we talk about protein, that is what we're talking about. Because all we're talking about is maintaining lean muscle tissue so that you maintain a speedy metabolism and that you burn body fat instead of muscle tissue. Okay? So that's it for this particular module. You have two things to work on. You're going to calculate your calories and you're going to calculate your protein needs. And in the next video, we're going to get into carbohydrates and fats. And then on top of that, we're going to talk about food choices. So until then, you do your homework. I'll be rooting you on, and I'll see you in the next video.